Dr. Jennifer,
Yes, hello.
God bless you, young lady.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is East Harlem Community Radio coming to you from the James Weldon Johnson Housing Development here on Lexington Avenue. I'm Brother Leroy and your host, and this is the Wisdom Table where we interview guests for the benefit of senior citizens, and the ultimate purpose of this program is to instill in the seniors the ability that they already have, the confidence to do their own talk show. Once again, we're thankful to the Most High for blessing us to be with you and you to be with us. This program does not reflect the views, attitudes, whims, deeds, or any other proclivities of the management of EHCR, nor that of the administration of this development. However, the program does reflect the research done by the participants in the program who are live and living color here in studio and by phone interview. Our guest today is Dr. Jennifer Daniels, and you can look her up on YouTube, Google, and we were introduced to Dr. Jennifer Daniels by way of a radio program in Washington, D.C. 2 weeks ago, the Carl Nelson Show. Fascinating interview, so we reached out to bring her into the New York City area. This will be one of our many interviews, the good Lord willing. Dr. Jennifer Daniels, once again, thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
Will you please give us how you started out and then come to the mission that you're on to bring better information to everyone regarding healing and that which they can do on their own. And you have a fascinating journey, so I need that to set the stage of how you made a transformation, a transition to where you are now.
Well, I guess I start out as an ambitious 11-year-old with outstanding grades who wanted to work doing something to improve people, to improve the world, and something that would use math and science. So I settled on medicine, continued to do well in school, was accepted into Harvard University, identified as one of the 5% most outstanding students they admitted that year. And I graduated from Harvard with honors, went on to medical school, University of Pennsylvania School of Medicine. And while I was in medical school, I was really shocked that nothing we did seemed to be working. In other words, a person would come in, they would have a complaint, a concern, we would do something for them, and they just did not get better. And I would go to the dean, went straight to the top, went to the dean at the end of every semester and said, hey, what's the problem? What's going on here? I came here to learn about the cures. I came here to learn how to help people get better. And each semester he would say, oh, you'll get the cures next semester. And also while I was in medical school, I said, well, all this medicine is based on research, so let me do some research and find out more about research. And so I did some research, examining slides and stuff, and gathered data, presented my data to the chief research person, and he said, okay, that's good, but I want you to change all the numbers. I want you to change the data. I said, there's no reason to change the data. This is the data. We can write something on this. I think it'll be published, and it'll be great. He said, no, you have to change the data. I said, well, you want me to falsify it? He said, well, you can look at it that way if you want to, but change the data. And so I said, well, no, I'm not going to do that. And he said, well, if you don't do that, you will not get any credit for the course. Now, I had given up my whole summer. I had worked from sun up to sundown. I had literally not seen the sunrise that whole summer or the sunset because I was doing this research. And here I was confronted with the prospect of all of my efforts being basically unrewarded, not even getting any credit for it. And I said, well, no, I'm not going to do that. And he said, okay, no credit for you. So again, I went to the dean and I said, hey, this professor wants me to falsify data, and I told him no, and he told me no credit. He says, oh, Jennifer, you must have misunderstood. He went to the professor, and sure enough, the professor told him straight up, yeah, I told her to fake the data, and she refused, and I'm not giving her any credit. So the dean met with me again and says, well, it's his course, he gets to set the standards for it. but I got an degree that if you would work another 3 months, he'll give you credit for the month you've already worked. And I said, no, thank you. And I mean, a different person might have decided to pursue legal action or whatever, and I said, no, no, no. I'm just going to, you know, take extra courses over Christmas and holidays, not go home for holidays, and, you know, make up the credit to graduate on time. So I also went to business school because it was my intent to go back to the inner city ghetto where I grew up and practice medicine. And I felt that an MBA from Wharton would help me understand how to make ends meet, how to keep it profitable so I could stay in business. So I went to Wharton, graduated with both degrees, an MBA and medical degree in 4 years instead of 6. Still with this concern back in my mind that nothing was working. Then I did a 1-year residency only to find that it was worse than I thought. And I thought people were dying like flies, left and right. And this was a white upper class hospital where the rich and not so famous went. So people like politicians, businessmen went to this hospital. It was in Chestnut Hill. The Eisenhowers and Nixons lived in the neighborhood. And this was the hospital they were going to. And these people, these wealthy people, were basically being slaughtered. I said, oh my God, if this is the best care that they're getting, then this is all there is. It's terrible. And so I went on to work with the Indians in North Dakota and Wisconsin, and then returned to Syracuse, New York, finished my residency training, did 2 more years, got board certified in family practice, and purchased a city block and opened my own private medical practice in the middle of the ghetto.
And
Dr.
Daniels?
I could afford a city block, but you know, real estate in the ghetto is pretty inexpensive.
Dr. Daniels, that was in the inner city area?
Right.
And
South side.
The south side of what city?
Syracuse, New York.
Syracuse, New York?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right. Go ahead and continue.
So, while I was in medical practice, well, first of all, on the way there, I had my first child, and during the course of being pregnant, got really sick. And since I'd been to medical school, I realized that there was no treatment for it. And so it became clear to me that this was a really bad illness. I was probably going to die. And so I always wanted to become a vegetarian, but I didn't do it because medical school and my father said that it was deadly and I would die if I was a vegetarian. So I said, well, look, I'm going to die anyway, so let me become vegetarian. So I did that, and in 24 hours, I was all better, like nothing had ever happened. And so I decided to continue being vegetarian. So when I opened my medical practice and all these sick people, I said, well, maybe if they ate some vegetables, it might help them too. And it was miraculous. People started getting better and turning around. And I also noticed that, you know, the first year, there were a few deaths, not many, 3 or 4 people died. And I said, well, you know, let me review these charts, see if I can do a better job next year. So I reviewed the charts only to find that each and every person was fully diagnosed, taking medications, never missed a single appointment, totally compliant, exclusively. So all my patients who were disobedient, missed appointments, didn't take their medicines, not a single death in that group. And I said, oh my God, this is terrible. Could it be that what I was taught in medical school is inherently deadly and killing people? And so then I said, okay, I'm going to give people a choice between the standard of care, which is drugs, doing nothing, eating a vegetable, and see what happens. What happened was just giving people a choice and just telling them, if you are having side effects of your medication, you stop the medication and let me know. Just that piece of information alone, the death rate in the practice went to 0, not a single death, nothing. Not even accidents, no one slipping a banana peel, no deaths at all. So I said, wow, this is really compelling, you know. So I continued to give people a choice from that point forward. Unbeknownst to me, people were choosing the natural stuff, and nobody was getting the prescription filled. And so your doctor is under secret surveillance. Every time a prescription is filled, it's classified as to the drug, how much the drug costs, and the doctor who wrote it. this information is summed up in total on a monthly basis, compared year to date by doctor. And so the industry, whoever wants to know, drug companies, hospitals, insurance companies, the government, can tell that a doctor is not prescribing his fair share of drugs. And that's what happened to me, that was found out. So that I got threatening visits from drug reps. And again, what I did not realize is that the drug reps actually are supervising the doctor. Yeah, they give the doctors gifts, but they are actually supervising the doctors, and they are reporting back to the drug company what each doctor is doing. And each doctor is punished or rewarded accordingly. So then I started getting phone calls from the hospital because my patients were not using the x-rays and testing services, and they were not being admitted. Of course, they weren't being admitted and using the testing services because they were healthy. And what people don't know is most of the illness among people is caused by the drugs that they take. And doctors are trained to never stop a drug and just add more drugs. So you can see how that snowballs. So because I was not using drugs, my patients were using, things like diet or a supplement or drinking water, they were not requiring hospitalization. And so the hospital called, offered to bribe me to send my patients to them. And I told them, hey, I like you, you're a great hospital. I send all my patients to you. My patients just aren't getting sick. And they're like, oh, and they hung the phone up. Then I got a menacing phone call from an insurance company demanding I sign their contract because they were losing business because I wasn't signed up as a doctor on their panel. So all of these things kind of converged, and ultimately what happened was I was investigated by the licensing board, and the case they picked was a case of a diabetic with a blood sugar of 460 something. So his blood sugar went down to 135 in a 1 week period without medication.
Oh, hold on a second. Go. Just review that patient again.
Excuse me?
Just review that was a diabetic patient.
Oh, yeah, it was a diabetic. Came into the office, newly diagnosed. He had, the usual symptoms. Thirsty, drank a lot, peed a lot, and his blood sugar was very high. It's like 460 something. And I reduced it to 135 with no medications in the space of 1 week. And so that was identified as the inappropriate practice of medicine.
They were charging you with inappropriate practice of medicine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I just want to be clear. The patient, when that patient came into you, what was the situation? What did you set up as a protocol for that patient?
Oh, I just changed his diet, gave him some supplements, had him walk around the block a few times.
You changed his diet. Hey, wait.
He wouldn't been my doctor.
You changed his diet. You changed the patient's diet. You gave him some supplements, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Actually,
now,
I recommended some. He went to the health food store to buy them. I didn't sell him any supplements. He went to the health food store to get them.
he went to health foods. He went to a health food. Okay. Now, what was the reading after a certain point? I'm not clear on what the readings meant. Like you gave the numbers, but I don't know what they mean.
The blood sugar level. So his blood sugar level was 460 and went down to 136.
136 wasn't nothing really wrong with it.
I got one of the seniors says this is the wisdom table, Sister Daniels, and they know more than Brother Leroy, and I'm so happy for that. The sister just confirmed wasn't nothing wrong with him based on the numbers that you just gave, but they charge you with inappropriate practice of medicine.
Mm-hmm. That's
Correct.
what you told him to walk around.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Wouldn't give him no drugs.
this is our first interview, and I don't want to take time away from the questions that our wisdom table participants going to have. So how did with fast forwarding now, how did it come about the turpentine? Talk about your introduction to that.
Oh, okay. So I'm practicing medicine and having all these outstanding results, just changing people's diet and helping, giving them advice. But as soon as they stop taking my advice, I could say, I don't know, eat a cookie or something or drink a soda pop, then they would be back where they started. And I said, there must be some way to return them to their pre-sickness state where they're not so delicate. And so I set in a search looking for that thing, whatever it was. And that search led me to turpentine.
Was it Doc, was it feedback from them, or was it reading that you were doing? Was it feedback from some of the patients, or reading research that you were doing?
It was a combination. So I did some reading, and in the reading I found out that American slaves had some miracle, something or other that cured absolutely everything. And whenever the slave owner got sick, I mean really sick, so sick that the European doctor couldn't cure him, the European doctor would tell him, hey, this is it, end of the road here. Give away everything you own because you won't be living long. Then he would go to the slave quarters and promise them just about anything and say, hey, you got to save me so I can live longer and enjoy all my good things I have. And whatever it was they did invariably worked, and the master was able to live longer. And I said, wait a minute. If the slave has it, it's got to be inexpensive. It does not require refrigeration, because they didn't have refrigeration back then, and if they did, the slaves didn't have access to it. So it's got to be cheap, not require refrigeration, and easily located, whatever it is. And I just went looking and looking and reading, and finally I said, wait a minute. I am in the midst of the descendants of slaves. Somebody in my medical practice, descendant from a slave, must know what this thing is, whatever it is. And so at the end of every visit, I would ask my African-American patients, well, was there anything your mother or grandmother used that was really cheap and cured everything? And for a while, it was like, no, nothing, no, sorry, Doc, can't help you. And finally, someone said, oh my God, oh no, must be turpentine and sugar. Oh my God, it's turpentine and sugar. I said, well, what's that? He said, well, every time someone got sick, Grandma come running with that bottle of turpentine and spoonful of sugar. And nobody wanted to be sick, because you were sick, you got that turpentine and sugar. It worked, but nobody wanted to take it.
It was
I said,
nasty.
well, do you still take it? He said, no, Doc, I got a job, I got health insurance, and I come see you. I don't want no turpentine. I said, oh. And so I said, well, how's your grandmother doing? She must be deceased. God is 45 years old. So I said, she must be dead by now. I said, oh, no, she's 92 years old. And I said, oh, she must be in a nursing home. Oh, no, she's living in her own house. She cleans her house and cooks her own food. I said, really? And so then I asked him, I said, well, hey, I'm sold, right? Person drinking turpentine is living to be 90-something, cleaning her own house, cooking her food. I said, this is great. I need some of that. And so I asked him how much turpentine. He didn't know. How much sugar? He didn't know. Could I talk to her? Well, she keeps to herself. I'm like, this is not going well. It's not productive line of questioning. So I had to go to the hardware store, get a can of turpentine. I went to the grocery store, got some sugar cubes, and went home and said, well, I'm going to die or I'm going to find out something. And I said, wait. And I got my will, put it on top of the refrigerator, so in case I die, people could find it real easy. And I told my receptionist, if I don't show up for work tomorrow, don't worry about it, just reschedule a patient. So, with all that in place, I went home, sat down at my kitchen table, put the can down there,